Okay, I think we're live. A little bit sooner than we should be by a few seconds, but that's okay. We do have Michael Mouyis today. Spoiler alert, I had a full intro and everything to get through, but I just spoke to Michael earlier. He's on his way, logging on. He was just finishing a meeting, and I think that is him. There we go, Michael. Perfect timing. Just started. Haven't done the full intro yet, so I'm going to get into the intro, introduce you. Man of the hour. We'll do and he's
and that's all Michael had time for today.
Thank you for another episode.
Thanks for stopping by, Michael.
Well, I'm talking to them about technology next week, so let's. I got some work.
No, that's not Michael. That's someone else backstage. We've got two people backstage, which is fantastic. Why don't we, instead of me doing the intro now, we can have a quick. There's a few things on my mind.
Come on, Anthony.
I will. I'll do the intro once Michael jumps on, because it flows into welcoming and everything.
I'm just going to keep DJing over here, Ant. So you just keep
DJ Rob in the house. Let's raise the roof for DJ Rob.
Michael's here. Can you hear us, Michael?
Can you hear us okay, Michael?
It's coming in from the Gold Coast.
He's frozen. No, he's there.
Friday vibe. Stay tuned.
It is Friday. These weeks just seem to keep going by faster and faster, don't they?
Michael's
some big changes this week too. Just as we get, there's some big news announcements that came out last week. Sisters are now able to be added into direct care time minutes for organizations that do have some religious roles that are volunteers or not in a typical roster or pay format, which was a big consideration. We do a lot of policy and advisory work on that. And I think it's a great thing. We'll talk about that today.
How does that work? So does that mean, so if they're funded in the care minutes, does that detract from nurse funding, or is it an additional thing?
It would be an additional thing. So it's a bit of a boost, but also I see it as a further realignment to maybe some of the cultures, Christian values. We were and have been a convalescent industry, and that's where we came from. But as you can see, we have skill shortages, and it's a nod to also a lot of the hard work and clinical time that the sisters have provided this sector for over 100 years. I'm going to a bit of a history lesson there too, a bit later. We'll talk about that today.
On his due, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah. And there's a couple of things we're going to be adding to the show today. So we'll talk about some of the care minutes. We want to hear more about Michael's technology strategy and Infinite Care. And I've followed the organization, and actually an organization I know well with some of the acquisitions they've made that I've been on both sides of with some of the other partners. And then also we'd love to hear more about Ant. I think one of the things that's been coming up around the discussions with executives on my side has been skilled staff. Where are they? How do we get them? How do we get more of them? How do we continue to build a channel to really support a lot of the regional providers as well as metropolitans? And we are also entering our first base care tariff reduction quarter. So that's also directed to care time.
Yeah.
So it's all things care time on this episode.
Well,
Michael, thumbs up if you can hear us.
Yep.
Not yet.
And probably to one of the other aspects we'll talk about too on the show today is some of the care time assessment audits and what's happening out there. I've spent most of the week working with a number of auditing groups, trying to orientate them to this new legislation of what providers and individual RACs are going to need to have as evidence for their submissions come October 31st. So there's a lot of work to get through, as always. So little time.
Glad we can pick your brain on it, because that goes over my head.
Oh, we have Kim Davis as well joining us in the backstage. We'll get
we've got a full house backstage.
Did you get the catering?
Green room is pumping.
Yes.
I did try a new caterer this week, so that may be part of the interest.
Some bubbly.
He's still Michael is popping in and out, and there's some technical difficulties on his end. But I want to talk about so we did touch on it before, but yeah, just looking at the movement on the CEO front. So we've got Linda Mellors, Claire Douglas, Janet Muller.
Yes.
I might have some recency bias, but I can't remember a time where we had this many CEOs step down in about the same time frame. Anyone got thoughts on that? Comment maybe why is it the new Aged Care Act November 1 came and people went out? I don't think it's that, but yeah, keen to see if anyone has some thoughts on that. What do you boys think?
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a new sector. It's new requirements, new governance, a lot of new. It's interesting. I think sometimes with every CEO, there's a period in time in which they can offer the most of what they have in their skill set to what the organization requires, whether it be a transformation period, a strategic pre-launch period. And I think part of that is aligned to the strategies in which these groups and boards are imposing that the execs and the exec team are going to have to execute on, and that does call for different types of leaders and a leadership format and style. So definitely there's aspects of that, but I think in most industries, and Ant, you would have probably the stats on this as being one of the lead recruiters in this market, but it be interesting to see what is the average length of stay for a CEO and of a provider of some of those sizes, because 3 to 4 years is, I know, quite typical when you talk about ASX on averages of a CEO. But aged care has been, I would say, typically a bit longer. But I think we're not going to see the 15, 20-year kind of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon type of aspects continuing to play out in aged care. I think we're going to see more of a phased approach of leadership styles as we navigate reforms and go through big transformations. And that's a different type of CEO and leadership than when you're in a steady state or in a growth phase. So I think that's a little bit what's behind it.
Well, I can't necessarily say I've got the stats on it because I'm more of an anecdotal evidence guy. As you can see from the podcast, it's all about stories. So, but I'm sure there's a way where I can draw stats from all the transcriptions that I've generated from those conversations. But we do have Linda Mellors coming on board. I did reach out to her, had a conversation.
Yes.
She won't tell. I don't think she's disclosed. She definitely hasn't disclosed to me where she's going. But she is pretty excited. But the next one is basically an offer she couldn't refuse. Something exciting for her. So we are lucky to have her contribute, standing on the shoulders of giants. And I reached out to her and say, hey, do you want to do a little All Things Aged Care farewell tour? And she said maybe a reflection piece. So that's very, very like her. She's all class. So yeah, excited to her. Maybe she will drop the news on this stream.
There you go. First.
Going next.
You heard it first, Ant?
Yeah, that's right.
And Ant, I feel, is there a video? Do we have a video behind us in the making? Maybe. I think
our video, the All Things Aged Care video.
Yeah. I need a video, maybe in honor of Janet's legacy and her contributions to the sector.
Maybe a Netflix deal. See if we can line one up behind the scenes. The movers and shakers of aged care.
While we wait for Michael to jump on, we normally have the guests jump on the back end of these things. But we've got such a full house now that I think in lieu of Michael being here, why don't we add a few people? Unless
that's a great idea because Kim's already. We've got Kevin. Kevin's here too, isn't he?
Got a few people in the back.
I've got a message from Kevin that he's listening. Kim Davis has gone right out of the blocks with an observation that she'd love us to speak on and get your thoughts on, is the due diligence obligations and requirements together with the new standards are significant, all in an environment with decreased funding, significant personal responsibilities as responsible persons. Arguably, they've always been there though. So, Rob, what are you seeing in terms of your clients right now around this environment of decreased funding? More of an emphasis on increased care minutes and how they get there. And I know that's a personal passion area for you. And then are the personal responsibilities or liabilities greater now and what are you kind of fielding in terms of your clients' concerns?
Yes, they are greater. Key personnel now around the country have a different set of cards imposed on them. So, and it'd be great to have Susie Staples could probably talk at length about that as our board governance work she's doing.
Great.
But yeah, we do have increased compliances, and I think that's also what is forcing a lot of the standalone small providers that they just can't scale, and they have to continue their operations to their communities. They have to look at new ways of working, and part of that is to the amalgamation, the roll up into another entity that supports or aligns to their values. And I think that's where we heard the stories of those groups through Stephen Bechke from Apollo Care. That's a model where he's driving that as one aspect. The other aspect of it is just more of the like-minded or aligned sort of cultural institutions. So your St. Vincent's Care Services and Catholic groups where you may have a standalone Catholic entity that has operated solo. They're now becoming part of the bigger conglomerate, and that's all about scaling. To comply, use resources, be part of a team that has the benefit of that scale and the back office support that a standalone where the director of nursing or facility managers is doing everything from stirring soup to giving out medications to all things aged care.
It's quite a multitasking challenge that it's being asked of them.
It is. And I think it's on the backdrop too of, typically at this period of the transformation, like we are going through an industry transformation. You hear about businesses or even a business unit, the back office, the shared service function, it may be taking something out of the business and moving it into a lower cost jurisdiction or entity. We're doing this at a scale that I've never seen, and I've got a history of shared services. When my first job in aged care was actually setting up Domain Principal, now Opal's shared service function, and that's how I learned acting, and that's how I fell in love with the industry. But that was its own transformation by bringing Domain and the Principal groups together into one under a new banner. I remember when we went to market and voted and said to all the staff, "What are we going to call the new entity?" And we've ended on the Domain Principal Group. I was like, we could have done better. But anyways, it's become Opal. And that was a great engagement. But that was its own transformation of just two companies into one. Yeah. We are now 600 plus entities with a lot happening, but all on a transformation journey and all being governed by aspects of how government's helping that, but also the ecosystem around the industry, groups like myself and Mouyis, vendors, software vendors, we're all having to adapt and fit into this new world. So we're also transforming and we're amalgamating too. Manad, Mouyis coming together. Yes, you've got examples of other groups.
Legacies. Yeah.
So it all comes back to that common denominator, which is really the reform changes. And this is where the argument comes though, is this a deliberate act by the government to really bring it down to one throat to choke, if you will? Because we know it's much easier to deal or for government to manage an industry if you just have a select few operators you have to deal with. When you have, when I joined the industry, it's over 1,700 providers. That's a lot of different stakeholders to be individually, managing and addressing and so forth. So, a lot of execs have their own theories.
Consolidation has been reasonably rapid then, 1,700 to 600. And it's going to be interesting to see where we'll be in the next 5 to 10 years. Michael might.
Where does it land?
Michael,
where does it land?
Okay?
How's it sound? Is it sound
pretty nice?
Yeah,
it is.
Sorry
for that.
All right, we can get into the intro.
Before you do the intros, if I may, Ant, Jack Webb has asked how long the podcast will be and would love to join us with some questions. Jack, we have the open mic at 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and we'd love you to come join us.
That's Sydney
Over
time.
to you, Ant.
Sydney Melbourne time. Or if you're not going to make it, just type in your question and we'll pose it to Michael and the audience. Everyone else can chime in with their thoughts. But all right, intro time, just in case someone tuned in and had no idea what these four guys on the stream are talking about.
Nothing like building a bit of suspense. Good on you, Michael.
There we go. We're back.
All right. All right, guys. So welcome back to the All Things Aged Care Weekly Wrap-Up. My name is Anthony Nguyen, aged care recruitment expert and host of the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. If you're looking for a clinical, management, or executive position in aged care, or if you want to be on the podcast, just let me know. Next, we have Robert Covino, founder and CEO of Mouyis Australia. He led the creation of technologies like Mouyis Metrics and Care Minute Manager, and now Mouyis Plus, an AI-powered platform uniting software and data to streamline everything from admissions to compliance. Rounding out our hosting crew is Owen Matheson, strategic connector and founder of the Mission Critical Group. He works with owners, boards, and executives with a knack for connecting the right people, opportunities, and capital to unlock growth and drive innovation. And our special guest for today is the Chief Operating Officer of Infinite Aged Care. He has a proven track record of driving operational excellence and strategic growth in aged care, hospitality, and accommodation industries. With over 15 years of senior leadership experience overseeing large-scale operations and delivering exceptional results in national and multi-site environments, he has kindly taken time out of his diary to join us on All Things Aged Care. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise the roof for Michael Mouyis.
Welcome.
Thanks, Anthony.
Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Great to be on board. Appreciate the opportunity.
Michael, that you didn't give up and you pressed through and here you are.
Good.
That's the perseverance we like to see.
Hey, Michael, I want to give you a shout out. So I saw a post by a fellow called Geordie Fung. We've had him on the show before. He's all about AI and technology. He's founder of Matthew 25. And I saw one of his posts and I'll read a bit of it. So he said, tough week personally. When stuff like this happens, you're reminded how little control we actually have. All you can do is trust in God and believe there's some good coming out of it. Hard to focus on business, but a few things still happened. And there were two conversations that stood out. And one of the conversations, he said it was with a COO of mid-sized resi provider, 20 plus sites. And this COO reached out saying he saw my post about supporting smaller providers and wanting to encourage what I'm doing. They're building internal AI tools. And we had a conversation about that. It was a great connection to have. And you did come to mind. And I was like, I wonder if it was you. I was going to reach out to Geordie and see if it was him. Then I saw you liked his post. Was that you?
It was Anthony. Yeah, Geordie was a lovely, lovely man. It was great to catch up with him. He's definitely trying to lift the standard in aged care. So it was a great opportunity.
It's really cool that you would reach out to. I just like that. Building a community on LinkedIn around aged care, seeing what other people are doing, having that conversations. No one's too big, too small to have a chat with. This is one of those industries where I've heard stories of people, C-suite people in large organizations, chatting to the little guy. So I thought that was pretty cool. Could do with more of it, but yeah.
And we love Geordie. Geordie's a friend of the show, and he's always coming. He's very curious by nature, and he's always coming out with great content to just engage. So a shout out to Geordie Fung and Matthew 25, and the great work they're doing with a large. It started off as family operators, but I think his client base is starting to move more into the enterprise and the larger operators. So great to see a young guy that's backed himself as an entrepreneur to solve a very real problem around how does AI drive automation in organizations. There's lots of questions we could ask you, Michael, but I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You weren't in aged care, but you discovered aged care in 2018. Is that right?
Yeah, spot on. It's been 8 years now. It's probably been the best 8 years of my working career. It's been fantastic. Wow. Definitely, entered aged care, probably not expecting it to be such a great journey, but have thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it.
You guys are growing your building. Saw the Knoxfield home. Fantastic. I saw the drone footage. Obviously interviewed you and Tara on the podcast, and really awesome to see that come to fruition. What can you talk about your plans for the next 12 months now? Because I think it was almost 12 months ago that I asked you what's on for the next 12 months. What's on for the next 12 months from here?
Yeah, great. Good to catch up again, Anthony. And it was nice to catch up 12 months ago. Yeah. So Knox Field was obviously opened in January for us, which is really exciting. It's our first venture into Melbourne, and it's a beautiful home. If you've had a look at it online or had the opportunity to go in, personally, it's a stunning build. It's been really well designed by the Infinite Care team, and we've got a couple of, or we've got a really fabulous team there on site, which are making it feel like a home and making it, we're getting some really great feedback already, not just on the design, but of the feel in the home and the way people are being cared for, which is great. So that's obviously a big priority for us this year. And here we've also got another new build in Victoria in a suburb called Paran. My apologies for the Victorians if I've mispronounced that. I definitely struggle with.
I'm an American. I can pass it. I'll butcher it as well.
How dare you, Michael? That's
I know.
reckless.
I know.
It's like Tottenham, right? Isn't it like in London?
Yeah. Yeah. I joke with the internal team. I think I've pronounced it correctly and incorrectly so many times that I've forgotten which one is
which
the right one. Yeah, correct. So that'll open in the next few months, which is great. But yeah, look,
can I ask you, Michael, just in the middle of that, I do want to hear the balance of the 12 months, but the design considerations, are you finding they're changing in terms of, the changing needs, or is there anything that you've had to factor in?
Yeah, look, definitely. If you look at the types of residents that require residential aged care today compared to years gone by, it's certainly the acuity is growing, and as such, obviously, the buildings need to be considerate of that. And as you guys will know, dementia is becoming a more prevalent condition in society. So, as that prevalence rate increases, design principles should also be factoring in that. So definitely a lot of consideration was put in place for Knox as it is for Paran, and as it will be for future builds, I'm sure, for us and the sector, to make sure that they're designed for the future.
And Michael, as part of your role as COO, I mean, as you know, aged care is a pretty wide remit of activities, and to be a chief operating officer, oh man, how far do you go from kitchen to property design and development and that? But what does that look like for you in Infinite Care? For some of the other COOs out there, just to give context as to what is on your plate every day when you come to the office.
Yeah, look, what's on the plate every day is all things operations, which is great. That's
great name for a podcast, right there, Michael.
Yeah, that can range from anything from hotel services to sales and admissions to new resident experiences to employee journey and recruitment and retention strategies. So. It varies. But look, again, really fortunate to work in an organisation like Infinite Care that's got some really, really great leaders, and definitely there's a commitment towards ensuring that our residents have a great experience and our staff are looked after. So there's lots of great people in the organisation that help achieve good outcomes.
Luke Greaves and the team, Chris Stride, you got a nice, really strong leadership and governance around that. And I also hear you've even dabbled with some new hires in AI. You have a gentleman joined from Fuji Xerox AI, is that right? Or
yeah. So some great leadership at the top, as you mentioned, with Chris and Tony, our founding directors, and Luke's obviously our CEO, and you've had plenty to do with Luke. Luke's one of the most inspirational and aspirational people you'll ever meet. So he's always challenging us to be better every day and take the sector, or take Infinite Care to the top of the sector, which is, it's great. It's inspiring to work in that environment.
The visionary.
And yeah, he's very visionary. Exactly what you want in a CEO. That's, he's impatient for improvements, and he's always looking to get to where we want to be as quickly as possible.
Nice balance. When you're looking at the horizon, you need a bit of urgency. Can you take us inside the thinking of Infinite? I mean, obviously there's different meanings, but what does it mean sort of, culturally, or what are you sort of impressing upon your people in terms of the way you look at the world?
Yeah. Look, it's a great question. I think if you sort of come back to our core business. Our core business is to make sure that we provide really amazing care to our residents. So, we've got to be laser-like focused on that and ensure that we don't get distracted with, shiny objects or chasing things that may not be core to our business. And delivering really great outcomes for our residents typically comes by having really good leadership in our care homes and really consistent, stable leaders that are, singing the same message every day, and we're getting, our frontline team members know the expectations. It's not erratic in the way that the homes are operating. So if you can get that leadership right, and we're attracting really good quality leaders in our organisation, and we're supporting and enabling them to be their best, I should say. Typically, the resident outcome then is a lag effect of that. So, that's probably, I suppose, a critical function for us. And as we touched on with Luke and an aspirational CEO, it's about being able to be strategic and visionary, and also be able to execute on that and not get distracted. So, trying
absolutely
to between those two.
And just before you're joining, we were talking about some of the change of the guard out there in the CEO land. Some pretty big names across, and guys were just asking, my take on it. And I was just suggesting, well, as you noted, there's typically different CEOs for different times of a transformation or an organizational's life cycle. And certainly we are going through a unique life cycle with a lot of rebuilding, transformation, and then growth too. And sometimes a custodian type of CEO is then really not the appropriate side, and their boards will then have those discussions. And so I think that's also part of what plays out in the day-to-day, at least in the business world, but in bringing it to the context of aged care. But do you have also a view on, I guess, what you're seeing out there and what we can continue to see? Because there's a lot happening and a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Look, it's definitely a little bit of change in the sector at the moment. But I think you've got to be optimistic and look at that as a good opportunity. Fresh ideas, fresh people. Yes. Can bring different perspectives, and ultimately, I think everyone in the sector is trying to challenge the status quo and become, take the sector to new heights. So new people in the sector from other industries, or even just transferring from one provider to another should help. Challenge that status quo. So I think it's a good thing overall.
And what did that journey look like for you, Michael? I mean, you joined in 2018 when it would have been right in the middle of the four corners. The media was everywhere about investigative journalism, led to the Royal Commission, and here comes Michael into a new industry. What was your pathway?
Then
COVID. Yeah, so you really had
quite a baptism of fire into the industry, Michael.
It was, yeah. It was. It was definitely a baptism of fire. But look, as I said, I think one of the special things about aged care is that you can go home every day and know that you've had a really meaningful impact on people's lives. And that's incredibly unique to aged care and healthcare. So on a personal level, irrespective of how hard the day may be or challenging the environment is, I think it's a real privilege to work in aged care. There's not many people that genuinely can go home every day and think, I've made a tangible difference to people's lives. And I think you've got to take that as a responsibility as well, that any leader in aged care, you're given that privilege, and you should take that really seriously, because it's pretty special to be given that opportunity.
Michael, what do you make of the news that Rob brought up earlier about sisters being involved in the care minutes?
Oh, the bomb that dropped last week, I thought it was good. I think Allied Health probably need to get on some lobbying as well.
Yeah,
they definitely
this
do.
is the Catholic sisters being recognised as contributing to the care minutes
and the direct care time.
Yeah. I did see a bit on it. If I'm honest, it doesn't impact us significantly, so haven't sort of read into it in a great level of detail. But it's probably bit challenging to comment on that one, but
that's all right.
We'll for those
won't force it out of you just yet.
On these things as well. Michael, we did have Julie Hogarth Williams drop in for a moment and say hi to you, and
Yeah, she's going to be more regular.
Doing great work in the seniors channel out there, making sure that aged citizens are receiving some good, inspiring content. I mean, that's an area too. You and your team, how are you addressing, the lifestyle, the recreational, the social needs of residents in a changing landscape where there's this divide between social media and practical friendships and activities, and how do you sort of navigate that where residents are connected to their broader family and friendship groups where possible?
Yeah, agree. Oh, look, I think that emotional need is a real challenge for everyone in the sector. As you guys all know, a lot of our residents don't have regular visitation from family members or loved ones, and or may not even have loved ones still in their life. So, I think as a provider, we play a really big part in advocating for residents and making sure that we meet their care needs, both physically, but emotionally and socially and holistically. So yeah, we've got a number of programs at Infinite Care that help address loneliness and isolation. We do some great long lunch tables, which encourage people to come out to lunch times, and we've seen changes in the way that residents then interact in social environments. We've got some really great companion services where we have dedicated one-on-one time with our residents, and we've seen some really great improvements in their mental health and social skills as a result. So I think one of the great things about the sector and the evolution is the introduction of things like care minutes, and some of the reform has allowed providers to innovate and to do new things that they wouldn't previously been able to do. So we've seen some really great improvements in our residents as a result of some of the reform.
It's that time in the show, Michael. This is the part where we've got people backstage waiting to jump on, ask you a question.
Green room
talk about something
buzzing
age care related.
Here,
so
Michael. Yeah.
Here we go. It's Andrew Peers coming up. Andrew, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what's your topic or question?
Yeah, cool. Thank you for having me. So I'm Andrew. I'm a pharmacy owner and aged care pharmacist on the Gold Coast. And kind of just jumped into this live meeting because I just wanted to, understand, get to learn more about Michael. Thank you for your insight so far. It's been great. One question I probably would have is just from your perspective, what innovations, or there's AI obviously, but like also partnerships, do you think will make the biggest impact to resident quality of life or just resident satisfaction kind of going forward into the future?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. Good to see you, Andrew. And thanks for the question. I think, look, there's so many partnerships outside of just the aged care home, whether that's with pharmacy services, whether that's with your physio, or whether it's with community groups. The opportunities are enormous. It's really great to see. I suppose I particularly like seeing some of the integrated models of care that exist in the sector, where people are able to enjoy home care packages, enjoy retirement living, and if they need, then enjoy aged care, all in that one environment. And in those more advanced sectors, we've also seen gymnasiums coming on board. There's been some hydro pools. There's been on-site pharmacists, which you're obviously well aware of. So I think that that really that community and making aged care as close to living in the community is ultimately where I'd love to see that the sector goes in that direction, because I think it will deliver great outcomes for residents.
I agree. What a great statement. Great question.
What are you seeing, Andrew, in terms of ageing citizens? Is there anything that you're particularly picking up on as a need, because you've got that interface daily?
Yeah, I guess from a pharmacist perspective, particularly the home care side of things, and how much support or how the support is going to need to grow, particularly in that home care sector. whether it comes around, from actually administering medications, or, it's from a pharmacist's perspective. But yeah, I guess just how we can make it safer for people in their home for longer, I think, is a big thing from our perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And it needs to happen. I mean, that's what government's banking on, with support at home. We need to put 1.3 million plus Australians on a different trajectory than straight into residential aged care. Yeah.
I wanted to give a shout out to Paul Housey, who's joined us for the first time. Thanks, Paul, for your support. We love having new people join us, and we encourage that. We're trying to build a community of purpose here where, as Anthony shared earlier in the show, Michael reached out to Geordie, a young guy that's passionate about the power of AI to make a difference in aged care. And we really want to hear the different voices of our community. So this backstage, this open mic time that we've got now, you might be new to aged care. You might have questions which you think, why would I ask that? Every question's a good question. This is a safe place where you can ask your questions. You might be part of the sandwich generation. There's a whole bunch of us now that are thinking about, how do we look after our parents? How do we pay it forward? They've done right by us. How do we do right by them? And obviously having a voice like a local pharmacist who's dealing with the everyday needs of aging citizens as well, Andrew. So what I love about this show is we've always got variety. We've always got a new voice or a new perspective, and we encourage that.
Just on that point also that Andrew's raised, I guess for Michael specifically, I mean, for a pharmacy, and Michael or Andrew, it's Chempro up in Ashmore, I believe, is your pharmacy group, and. Yeah. I mean, how do pharmacy businesses align to support our sector? I mean, we know a lot of residentials controlled inside of an ecosystem of technology and pharmacy, your Best Meds, your others, various groups in that distribution. But also there's a lot of legislation that I won't get into about what's required across even state borders of operations with the pharmacy side. But certainly for support at home and home care, what's the best way for some of these businesses to be aligned to providers such as yourself, or even the future of the home care providers? And maybe for Kim Davis can also come on and give a little bit of feedback there for Andrew's team and his colleagues.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, look, home care is quite challenging actually. For a home care provider to align with a set of standard services, and processes, because when you're in the community, you're obviously dealing with, a variety of residents who use a variety of pharmacies, use a variety of prescribers, and it's a bit of the Wild West, to be honest. So it makes it really hard for the home care provider itself to sit down and go, okay, this is how we're going to, assist these people or all our, our clients with their medications. They can't do it at the moment. I know that software like Best Med, that they are coming out with like a home care module, which aims to kind of assist with those kinds of things. We're looking to kind of support that as well, where we can kind of bring in a home care provider, be like, look, we can help within a region. Obviously, geographically, it's also a bit difficult. Providing delivery services to hundreds of different homes as opposed to a residential care home where you're just doing the one delivery to 100 different residents. Lots of challenges. We're working through some of them with some home care providers. One step at a time.
And Michael, does that resonate with some of? I know from as a vendor of clinical management system, we work with a lot of them, and as part of that too, it's a lot of it is about returning time to care, lowering risk. And that's kind of where the distribution of pharmaceuticals to these different segments, I think still evolving. And some groups like Webster Care had been, quite innovative early with the way they package and the design and then administer those. But where's Infinite Care going with their pharmacies strategy? Are they locking in like a Best Meds as a partner across all jurisdictions, because I know the information sharing too that you get where there's a serious incident report or a missed dosage, and they want to know as much of that as well as the provider does. So what does that strategy look like for Infinite Care?
Yeah, that's a great question and a good topic. Look, Infinite Care use best met across all of our care homes, which is obviously top of the line system. I think from a pharmacy perspective, just sort of pausing to reflect on where the sector is now versus where it was 5 years ago is markedly better off. To think 5 years ago we would have on-site pharmacists in a lot of aged care providers was probably, a distant dream. So that's been a huge advantage for providers, been a huge advantage for residents, big advantage for staff. So I think we've made leaps and bounds in there. There's obviously opportunities for refinement and improvement, like any change, but definitely, really positive step for the sector. I think back to your point about the community, where the next step might be is whether a pharmacy, can be co-located on an aged care home. It would be, be amazing to think that in terms of, we talk about having a community, that people from the community could come into the pharmacy, can see aged care. We know that just entering an aged care home is often a barrier for a lot of people. That there's a real stigma associated with, I don't want to go to aged care for whatever reason. And if you can come in the front door, you can have an experience. People realise that it's actually a really great experience, and for a lot of people, their health improves significantly. And I think at a community level, the more people can plan ahead for aged care rather than it be a reactive decision, it'll be a much better outcome for people. So it'd be great to think in the future there may be on-site pharmacies. I think it'd be great for the pharmacists, great for providers, great for the community, but definitely a really positive step.
Love that.
So Paul Graham, the CEO of the Australia Post, if you're listening, I think it's a great way to bring in a lot of that community to aged care and support that infrastructure. But it's a very good point you make, Michael, because really it's that bridging the gap between what is independent living, or the perception of independent living in home, to then moving really where you are now a recipient of care. I know we play around with language and semantics for your participating, receiving, or your consumer. We flip-flop on that language, but at the end of the day, there is a chasm there that families, individuals have to leap through. And I think that connection and that barrier to lower it by having on-site pharmacies, gyms, GP clinics, even post offices that really align to all those activities that just helps bring that bridge into fruition.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for jumping on. I hate to love you and leave you. We've got a couple of others that we
Thank you for joining us, Andrew. Great to hear the voice of the pharmacy community. And
do come back.
Thanks to all your peers that are doing a great job out there across Australia. I think the Pharmacy Guild. And is there anyone you want to mention before you go in the pharmacy community?
No, I'm all good for now. Thank you so much.
All right, all good.
Cheers, Andrew. Have a good one. Okay, we're going to bring on, we haven't had Petra Jankolovsky, and I'm pretty sure I butchered your name. I apologize. Petra, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what question or topic do you have?
Well, firstly, well pronounced on the surname. I'm impressed.
Oh, well done, Anne. There you
go. Go, Anne.
So, I've been a dispute resolution specialist for over 20 years, and I've entered the aged care sector 18 months ago, basically supporting providers with their feedback, complaints and whistleblower, especially with the new Standards 2, and making sure frontline staff are confident and team leaders have a consistent approach when it comes to feedback complaints. So, Michael, I was really interested when you spoke about having, good quality team leaders who provide like a consistent message, which I'm finding, seeing, having worked with so many providers now, that the team leaders do tend to hold everything together. So it'd be interesting to hear from you in relation to what are these qualities, what are the consistent approaches that you're seeing that work really well with the team leaders when it comes to feedback and complaints?
Yeah, great question, Petra. Lovely to meet you, and great to have you joining the provider sector recently. So fantastic. Look, I think it's first and foremost, I think in terms of feedback and complaints, most residents or representatives really want that addressed at a local level. So, you know, the involvement of external bodies is obviously always an option and available for people to use. But I guess the culture we try to drive is where we can address that at a local level and where we can deal with small issues in the moment. We get much better outcomes than perhaps snowballing and becoming a major concern. So that's probably not single faceted in the way to resolve that. I think some of the things that can be done is obviously stable and consistent leadership is probably first and foremost. If you've got erratic operations and you've got different focuses and people are confused, that's going to have a flow on impact to residents. So take that as kind of a given. But outside of that, I think you need you need to be reviewing things like, have we enabled our staff to be able to capture feedback in the moment? And that might be through technology. There's providers like CarePage who we use for our feedback and complaint system. They've got applications that can sit on mobile devices or tablets. And can we capture those pieces of feedback in the moment rather than them being missed or rather than them being in conversations? I think providers have got to look at how are you enabling a feedback and complaint system to help address issues in the moment, because I think most complaints when addressed in the moment don't tend to have that snowball effect. They tend to require external support or more senior support when there's the I guess the snowball effect, which is little issues become big issues and they accumulate over time. So hopefully that's answered some of the
Petra, you asked about the whistleblower kind of approach, and how do you deal with that? Is that something that you've now been exposed to in terms of the framework and the process policies? And is there anything you'd like to share around that and for our listeners out there around the process?
If the question's directed to me,
yeah. Michael?
Yeah. No, I was going to ask Petra about that from your domain expertise point of view, and then Michael, how that plays in. Or do you have an existing sort of policy or approach to that as well?
So I'll go first, I guess, and Michael, then you can. I'm sure you've got lots to add to that one. But when it comes to the whistleblower policy, there is this expectation on aged care services to provide a safe to speak up culture. And that in theory sounds simple enough. Everyone's voice matters. We welcome your feedback. Please, if you see something, say something. But in reality, on the floor, I'm finding that it doesn't quite work like that. People are afraid to speak up and or aren't sure of the steps that need to be taken. Like I've run training sessions where staff will privately say to me, I've been wanting to raise an issue or a concern, but it's about the person that actually I have to hand the document over to, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. And then the other person that I can go to is their best friend, so I don't feel comfortable doing that either. So having to, look at organisations acknowledging, particularly smaller ones. I work a lot in regional, so having them to acknowledge that there needs to be a sense of, privacy around this, and staff to feel safe to be private, that their information won't be shared. And then the other thing is, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to be penalised for this. I don't want to lose shifts. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but rather welcoming it. So my feedback and whistleblower tend to tie in together because it's about, I find like complaints has the loudest voice, so we listen to it. But it's the subtleness of our feedback or our whistleblower where we can really make people, including residents, feel comfortable to share. And sometimes it's asking questions like, hey, I've noticed you've been a bit quiet lately. I've been reserved. Is everything okay? So giving people that psychological safety to speak up. And then another layer is adding it to the code of conduct, not as just a standalone policy, but embedding it within the culture really helps as well. And then revisiting it, having conversations about it regularly so that it's in the forefront of people's minds that it's safe to speak up.
Yeah.
So over
There's a
to
lot
you
there, I know.
on that, Michael. Obviously, it's a very sensitive matter, and you would have spent a lot of time organisationally trying to address that.
Yeah, I think Petra's done a fabulous job of explaining the process and putting that into practice. I think perfectly explaining, Petra, in terms of your policies and processes and a psychologically safe environment and building trust and confidence. So I don't have too much more to add, if I'm honest. I think you summarised it perfectly in terms of how it should be executed.
And only 18 months in, so we're excited about your involvement in the sector.
18 months, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know.
One of our other listeners who's quite active on the chat, Kevin McCreighton, may be good to highlight his Catalyst report. So he covers a lot of those elements at a macro overview for organizations to follow and really dissect and understand what is the root cause, or really unpacking some of the systemic perhaps challenges through the way he constructs the data and he asks for that information. So I think it's a multi-tiered strategy of looking at those macro aggregation of trends and then being able to really hone into where some of those aspects coming from, and then also having an internal process, culture, all of the elements that you rightly noted. So it's no easy egg to unscramble.
No, and that's why I guess I really like to bring in the humanistic approach to all of this, and a lot of the work I do is centered around not a PowerPoint or an online learning module, but rather conversations, storytelling, examples, things people can relate to, that they can walk away and remember and feel, most importantly.
Well,
Human intelligence, HI.
We were in a mini workshop with some great practical tips for anyone who is watching there. Petra, love your passion for what you do. Do we have anyone else backstage?
Thank you, Petra. Hopefully we can get you on every week.
Petra, a pleasure. More. Please come back and
keep
us updated.
Good to meet you, Michael.
Journey.
I will.
Okay, and we have a friendly face of the show, Kim Davis. And while she gets her camera on, I'm going to ask this question from Kevin. And Michael, so his question is, how is Infinite going about its HELF implementation?
Higher everyday living fees.
Yeah, definitely a big shift for the sector in the last few months now. It's going really well from our perspective. Obviously, transitioning from what was the old additional services to health, but it looked really great from a resident perspective. There's obviously a lot more flexibility for residents entering aged care, and it's challenging providers to think innovatively in terms of how do we drive value and make sure that the products and services are being offered are things that people see value in and will continue to pay for, much like you do in society. So it's been a positive change. Like anything, there's a few change management and teething things that the sector's working through, but all in all, another advancement for residents in aged care. So a good thing.
Nice.
So what's on your mind this week, Kim? Great to have you back, a friend of the show, long-term friend of the show now. Thank you for being on the journey with us.
I think, as you know, we're home care, not residential. So things on my mind this week have actually been the CHSP program. So with all the reports that are being released, all the submissions into the Senate inquiry, there's a lot of discussion at the moment with CHSP. But I attended a sector support and development webinar on individualised planning and reablement, and it was very much focused on that reablement side of things. And you know how passionate I am about wellness in aged care. But it was really stressing that CHSP services should be time limited, so between 8 and 12 weeks, and then look at, you know, the progress of the client and then transitioning them out to other services and supports and independence. But my thoughts, and I'd appreciate what you think, is how do you do that with something like lawn mowing or personal care or all of these services that are propping up the waiting list for support at home? You know, is this what they're trying to do with CHSP, so we can get more clients accessing services by, you know, this revolving wheel of people dropping off and new ones coming in? So yeah, that's what's been ticking
And
around.
Kim, they did extend the funding until June 30th of 2027, I believe.
Yeah.
So at least maybe they're not sure as well yet. So we're in a bit of a co-thinking period. Is announce and then we'll figure it out is kind of, I think, a bit of a theme.
Yeah, the problem is there's no growth funding. So we're getting, you know, just like support at home, we've got this growing wait list of people trying to access entry-level services. There's no growth funding. And then you've got the whole potential nightmare of moving, you know, almost 1 million people into support at home that's flawed in itself. Yeah.
Michael, are you having to think about that from a future resident profiling exercise and sort of having those touch points with community? Is that part of your strategy going forward?
Look, we don't have any home care or CHSP at Infinite Care. So if I'm honest, it's not a challenge we're experiencing. And Kim, I empathise with you. It sounds quite challenging in the space at the moment. So hope you're doing okay, but probably not a topic I can lean in with much support on. I'm sorry.
You know, we're doing fine. We've got plenty of demand. That's part of the problem, is not being able to meet. You know, there's so much unmet need out there. So I hate not being able to look after people.
Elon Musk, if you're listening and you can send us robots, we can we can explore the next frontier. But Kim, I'd be interested to hear too, though. I mean, how are you finding? I mean, CHCP clients must now register within the My Aged Care process, and that's a pretty formal aged care assessment. And I don't know, you're up in Townsville. Is that backlogged, or I mean, we hear a lot of stories about ACAT teams around the country.
I think everyone's on a wait list for assessment. So I don't know if the CHSP ones are flagged early at at My Aged Care before they get pushed out to the single assessment service. I'm not quite sure because I'm not operational, but they're definitely coming through. We've got so many inquiries, and it's just, I guess, the whole sort of, where does the reablement sit in? Should we be dropping people off? Not dropping them off, that's a terrible thing to say, but encourage.
How do you find them match their service?
Out of service after they've had their time. I mean, it's fair enough for allied health, but when you're looking at having your grass mowed every fortnight or every week, I can't see Mrs. Smith suddenly going, yep, I'm good to push the lawnmower around. So
bring back the 70s and 80s, though. And remember when we would you'd go out and get $20 you just mow Mrs. Smith's lawn as the teenager down the street, and I would have the paper out on the side. But we lost that sort of innovation at a community level.
Well, that is a real gap, and obviously I'm quite passionate about that. But I want to give Michael his due as well. Michael, just before you go, as a COO, you do a lot around culture and change management. And how much is that in terms of the way you've approached that? Would you like to share just a little bit around how you're doing that in your organisation as a final thought?
Yeah, of course. Look, I think a lot of change management and culture change comes with involving people and collaborating and making sure that they're informed with what's coming and that they're able to have a say and have a genuine impact on the decisions that are being made. So, like any change, I think taking the time to involve people in that process is really critical. And some examples there's a lot of flexibility. Other examples there's not. But the principles remain the same. That people always like to be involved in the decisions that are impacting them. So it's probably just an overarching statement for how we're trying to make sure that we continue to be change ready in a sector that's always looking to evolve.
I think that's a good place to wrap. Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you, Kim, Andrew, Petra. Brilliant stream.
Kevin, a great question.
Kevin, yes, and everyone anyone want to put in a question, put in the comments. Owen, you want to wrap us up?
Well, as we always say on all things aged care, all for one and one for all things
aged care.
Aged care.
Let's make aged care better together and raise the roof for those that serve our people so well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thank you all.
Mike,
Have a great weekend.
for what you were doing with you.